Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have once again as our co-host today in the studio, Lynn Pierre Jones.
Good to be here.
How are
Thank
you?
you for having me.
Glad you could come back.
Oh yeah, I'm back.
We loved having you before.
It's good to be here.
By popular demand, people said, "Bring that guy back."
Oh, I'm back.
That's awesome. Tell us what we got going today.
Well, today, three things. Homeschool conversations. We've got Charla McKinley on a call right now, ready to talk with us about teaching finance to our teens. That's going to be big. Next, we'll have homeschool news. We'll teach you about homeschool day at the Hornets game this month of December. Then we'll read a letter from one of our listeners and tell you how you can support homeschool freedom in North Carolina. And finally, Homeschool Helps with Amanda. Amanda will talk to us about choosing curriculum.
All right, thanks. So we're going to kick it off with homeschool conversations. We have Charla McKinley on the show. Charlie graduated from the University of Texas with a degree in finance. She went on to become a certified public accountant with over 25 years, working in both corporate and private sectors. While homeschooling her two children, that sounds very important after all the other stuff, Charla was inspired to write an interactive personal finance curriculum that opens the students' eyes to high costs of being an adult. After retiring from homeschooling, Charla continues to teach teens live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and across the country using her Beyond Personal Finance curriculum.
Cool. Charla's passion is teaching teens that their choices matter. She is a firm believer in that in order to prepare teens for the road ahead, they must be given the opportunity to practice making good and not so good choices using real dollars before they get out into the world and have real regrets.
All right. Welcome to the show, Charla.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so glad you could be here. It was just a few episodes ago, we had our homeschool tip of the week was don't do for your kids what they can do for themselves.
Yes.
And from looking at your material and talking with you a little bit, that's kind of the heartbeat of what this whole approach to teaching teens is. Is that right?
That's exactly right. In my experience, it was because I was homeschooling my son back in the 2014 time period. I learned a lot from, he was a rising middle schooler, and I began to see traits in him that I did not appreciate. We had,
to speak nicely.
kind of a perfect storm in our world with Valentine's, his birthday, and Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tried to do a cute little Valentine's thing where I went to a lot of effort scrambling around. And then it led into his birthday, and then it led into Easter. And those were all kind of over the top things that I did, and each
Wow.
one felt bigger than the next. My husband was like, "What is going on here?" And I was like, he's so grumpy all the time. He's so, apathetic and, all these things. I'm just trying to show him I love him by being bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I learned is he was just like the Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
He was gobbling it all up.
This is
And
great.
he just turned to me, and he was like, "What's next?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
Wow.
"I'm exhausted. What do you mean? What's next?"
Right.
And so I had a shift where it was like, all right, what if I stop doing for him all the time and just shift my role into one of an advisor,
Wow.
helping him, and rather than doing it for him. And I always thought that doing it for him was showing him how much I loved him.
Sure.
I was helping. I had the ability. It was easier for me to cut his meat than it was for him to cut his meat.
Right.
So let me help you, or it's easier for me to cook. I'm not going to burn anything.
Right.
But rather than him seeing that as love, he just saw it as my job.
Yeah, this is great.
And he wasn't like mean, but he also wasn't grateful. And I realized in that moment that I feel like it's not until you recognize the value of something that you can be grateful for it.
That's right.
So
That's good.
I shifted, and I love homeschooling because you can shift, you
right.
know, and we just pivoted right then, and he began cooking meals, and he began you know, doing things for himself, just like you had said. And when when I cooked and he didn't have to cook his breakfast or his lunch or whatever, because he had done those things,
Right.
he recognized the value of the service he was
Oh,
getting.
yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that kind of inspired me. That was also the year that we were going to tackle personal finance. As you know, my degree is in finance. I like it, so I was kind of excited about it, and sat him down with the traditional curriculum that was out there, and he's sitting there taking notes, and I was like, "Oh, that was really good information, right?" And my son is like, "Yeah, just going to be poor. So I don't know that I'm gonna need coupons."
He said he's not going to
He's
be
not gonna
poor.
be poor.
Yeah.
Be
Of
poor.
course, why would I need a
Oh,
coupon?
yeah, all kids are going to be rich. Yes.
Right, right. And so I realized then that I needed to do that same model, which is I need to help him see
Yeah, the reality.
the reality of adulthood. And so I, you know, transferred responsibility over there as well. He comes by it naturally, but he loves food. And so he didn't want to eat. He was too cool to eat off the kids menu. And and I wanted to save money by having him eat off the kids menu, but he didn't understand
Yeah.
that money was limited
Right.
because he didn't see my bank account, and I
Right.
didn't want him to see my bank account. So instead I shifted over, let him pay for his food. Of course, I'm giving him the money, but he's paying. And then he begins to value the kids menu. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
let me," or he's like, "Mom, can we split this hamburger? You know,
Yes.
can I?" Uh, Anyway,
right.
it was a complete mind shift when I recognized that I needed to be an advisor for him and not just a wallet.
Right.
And you know, the same is true for, you know, all the things, doing chores, and you know, him emailing back and forth with coaches and things like that. They can do
Right.
all those things, but money is something that they're going to really need practice with throughout their life.
Right.
And it is better to let them practice right now while they're here for us to advise them than it is, you know, for them to be out trying to navigate that on their own. And so that's really was the inspiration for
Right.
the curriculum that I wrote.
And so, whether it's just sharing how the curriculum works, which we'll make sure our listeners know how to get to, at the same time, what are some of the ways that we can do this to teach our teens the value of money and managing those things?
Sure. So, you know, it starts with an allowance. You know, I have a lot to say on that topic because it's a very deep topic, but basically we all as parents, we feel kind of conflicted on the allowance thing, because I personally do not believe we should pay our kids to do chores, right? Because
That's
it's
good.
kind of part of them living.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so
They get to eat.
us, yeah, right. So us paying them for chores feels wrong, but also giving them free money feels wrong too, right? And so we kind of get this, and so we don't understand the allowance game. But to me, it's two separate things. Yes, you are required to do chores 100%, but I'm not paying you to do chores because my daughter, bless her heart, she is a saver, not a spender. And so she would way rather not have money than clean the potty, right? I mean,
Yeah. You don't get to
it's
choose.
a no-brainer for her. My son is a little bit different. You know, he's the spender, so he's willing to grind it out to earn money if he has to. Of course, he'd rather have my wallet. But so I don't want to do that. So I separate chores from an allowance. And then an allowance, I just would ask parents to rethink the giving of money, because yes, you are giving money, but it's the same as giving a soccer ball or giving a flute or anything. Money is a tool to learn your values and to learn
good.
constraints of things. And so you simply give them the money for whatever it is they're asking for. In my son's case, he was asking to go out to eat all the time. And so I just quantified about how much we were spending, and I gave him that for a month and said, all right, you have this much when we go out to eat. You need to navigate how to spend that. And but for some people it's different. For some people, their kids ask for toys or whatever it is. So find the thing, clothes, find the thing that they're asking for, apart from Christmas and birthday, and stop buying it, and instead give them the money and have them make choices for themselves. Yeah, you can buy that, but that means you won't get this. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So
yes.
yes, you are giving them free money because they're not earning it through chores, but there is a responsibility there to now buy what it is they're asking for. So, and they don't get it all. You certainly wouldn't give them, you would just decide for yourself. All right, it's reasonable. Like in my family, we went out to eat 3 times a week. So I quantified that and gave him enough money so he could afford those things, eating off the kids' menu occasionally and splurging occasionally. So that's the real tricky part too of an allowance, is you really kind of have to figure it out. But treat it like a class rather than, you don't have to start them at age 2 with an allowance and they go till they're 18. Just treat it like a class, because once it clicks up here about money and how fast it goes, and how you have to wait, all those things, then it clicks, and you don't have to always do it.
Let me ask you this about what about letting those kids work as soon as they can? Is that also a part of the process?
Absolutely, of course, right? Because we are raising adults, and adults work. So the sooner they learn to navigate bad bosses, difficult schedules, getting to work on time, all those things under your roof, so you can be an advisor to them and sort of help them navigate. So yes, absolutely, they work. But they also don't get to keep 100% of what they make, because that is, that's unreal. Now, of course, all of the money is theirs. But what I tell the kids and what I tell parents that I speak with is about 20% of what they make is for current them.
Right.
And 10% should be donated, should go to charity.
Right.
And then the 70% goes to their future self.
Right.
You're going to get to spend all 90%. You just aren't going to get to spend 90% today. And so that helps them. It'll naturally constrain the money and helps them learn, because I don't get to keep all of my paycheck. There's constraints on it. So when a kid earns $150 a week, they feel rich. And so it kind of kills their motivation for the future, because they have everything they want now. And what you really have to do is help them keep that future in mind by taking the bulk of what it is and having them save. Because the truth is, future them is going to need a whole lot more money than current them does.
Charlie, that reminds me of my college boys recently came back to me and thanked me for making them work.
Yep.
And making them buy their own car.
That's right.
They both had to buy their own car, and that money that you were talking about, save, that 70%. It's like, well, you're going to have to buy a car. I'm going to have to buy a car. Yeah, and pay for insurance too. And they came back just only recently and said, thank you so much.
That's right.
For making us buy our car.
Wow.
You wouldn't think a kid would say that, but it has set a big,
One question real quick. You mentioned modeling. How much do you bring your kids into your own personal life, your own personal finances? Do you let them know, hey, this is how much I'm spending on the mortgage and on power? You see how you're taking a 20-minute shower? I'm paying $200 a month for water. How much do you bring them into that so they sort of know what adult life is really like?
Sure. So, Larry Burkett did a personal finance curriculum a while back, and I modeled my curriculum kind of after his, where he says, show them your finances so that they can truly have an understanding. And that I really struggled with that because at that point, my son was in the 6th grade and he was a little bit of a bragger. And I was afraid if he saw our finances in a way that he could, because he was good at numbers, I didn't want him going to school or going, to these classes he's taking and say, oh, well, my parents spend this much on that or this. I didn't love that. So that is why I actually created Beyond Personal Finance. He gets to pick a career for his future self. And then he spends that money on utilities and rent and so for those 20 lessons, which represent 20 years of his life, he is spending, and they're real apartments that were picked from Raleigh, North Carolina. They're real utility dollars. And because he's spending the real money he earned on the career he chose. So it's kind of a hybrid of what you're suggesting, because you're exactly right. It's not until they understand how expensive the future is that they can really kind of understand what they need to do to be successful in that future. And just talking to them doesn't help them experience it. So that's, to me, I just feel like letting them create those budgets for themselves really helps for that.
Well, tell us how we can find this curriculum and more about what you're doing.
Sure, yeah. So the curriculum, you can see what's going on at beyondpersonalfinance.com, or I've shortened it, bpfclass.com. Both get you to the same place. And it is basically, for the most part, self-paced. The videos that I've taught are recorded so that you as the parent don't have to navigate personal finance. But the kids get to, it's like a game of life on steroids, where they get to, it's 20 years of their life in 20 lessons. So you can check that out. And then I teach it live to kids in the Raleigh area. And then I've been doing Zoom since the pandemic. So you can see all of that at beyondpersonalfinance.com.
Great. And we will have a link in our show notes to that, so we can find it. We really appreciate you joining us. This has been great.
Thank
Charla.
you.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate your time. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
See you later.
Bye-bye. All right, in homeschool news, NCHE Day at the Hornets, y'all. December 29th, tip-off is 7 p.m. at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. Join the excitement with other homeschoolers attend this pro basketball game as the Charlotte Hornets take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not only are ticket prices greatly reduced over the box office prices, but you will also enjoy other special perks. Visit nche.com/2022-Charlotte-Hornets to learn more and to buy your tickets.
That's right. So make sure you check that out. That's going to be a lot of fun. What we're going to do now is have our first letter from a listener. It's pretty exciting, Yeah. And so I'd like to read this to you, and you're going to hear how she's been enjoying the show. Dear NCHE, how thrilling it was to attend the Thrive Conference last May. It had been 10 years since I last attended the event. My youngest graduated from our homeschool in 2013. It is so exciting to see the expanded, growing, yet faithful work of NCHE. NCHE positively impacted my life in countless ways. God used the speakers, the conference, the event for support group leaders, the Greenhouse Report, recommended books, etc., to shape who I am. Directly and indirectly, you have influenced my sons, our school, many families in our support group, numerous friendships, and now a generation of young moms. I teach a parenting class through my church, encouraging moms to intentionally train the next generation to love the Lord. I'm extremely grateful for the guidance, wisdom, and influence NCHE provided in my life. I am enclosing a check for my membership and a donation. I have enjoyed the weekly homeschool show, which is excellently done. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I am looking forward to reading the Greenhouse magazine again. You have been faithful in encouraging homeschool families and have done it with excellence and wisdom. Our Father has been and is being glorified through your steadfast and faithful work. I'm excited to, once again, to be a part of this outstanding organization, Living for His Gloria, Celia L. Smith. Thank you so much, Celia. We love your heart. We love hearing how we've ministered to you, and it's been very encouraging. And I wanted to read this also because there are parents out there and there are grandparents out there right now who believe in homeschooling,
Yes.
who love homeschooling, and who want the right for us to homeschool to be protected, and for us to continue what we're doing, not only protecting homeschool rights, but fulfilling our mission, which is to help parents homeschool with confidence and joy. We do that in 3 ways. 1, we protect the rights. 2, we equip them with information and encouragement. And 3, we connect parents with other parents and homeschool groups. Also, our values are very important to us, and I know they're important to you, and I think we share so many of them with you. One of them is parental authority. It is the parent's responsibility to educate and raise their children, or to direct that education. Another, of course, is home education. The third is service to all. We love to serve every homeschooler. It doesn't matter what you believe or what your background is. We want to serve everybody. And finally, we also believe in biblical Christianity, and that's something that we love to help Christian parents follow Christ. Here's what I'm asking you. It's at the end of the year here. We have an end of the year fundraising time. If you believe in these things, and if you want NCHE to be able to continue to do this important work, then please go to nche.com/give and consider prayerfully how you can support us in this work. And we will do our best to be good stewards and accomplish this goal with the passion and the joy that we have for helping parents homeschool with confidence and joy.
Cool. Awesome.
So, let's go into Homeschool Helps.
All right. Amanda now is going to talk to us about choosing curriculum.
Hi there, and welcome to Homeschool Helps with Amanda. Today, we are going to be talking about choosing curriculum. I know this is can be one of the most overwhelming aspects of beginning to homeschool. And even later on in your homeschool journey, you might need to make a change, and then it's overwhelming all over again. So I understand. Hopefully, I'm going to give you a few tips to help wade your way through all the choices and narrow down all of those different programs and curricula and all that's out there, so you can make good choices and not be overwhelmed as you're choosing curriculum for your family. Now, if you think about it, years ago when homeschooling was first coming on the scene, becoming popular, there really weren't hardly any choices, maybe 2 or 3 publishers that would even sell to homeschool families. So those families in some ways had it kind of easy because they didn't have so many choices to dig through and wade through and make decisions about. On the other hand, we are so blessed now that we have many different choices that can be geared toward your particular child's needs, your particular family's needs. And that's a wonderful problem to have, but again, it can be overwhelming. So, what do we do? First off, I like to ask people to think about, do you want your curriculum to be secular or faith-based? Many, especially historically, most homeschool curriculum has been faith-based, but in recent years, there have been more and more choices that are secular or faith-neutral. So that's something to think about of how you want your curriculum in your family to be. Do you want it to be secular or faith-based? And making that decision will narrow down, will get rid of a whole group of programs to make it easier for you. Next, do you want primarily online curriculum, or do you want primarily book-based curriculum? Do you want textbooks or living books or any of that? Do you want books versus online resources? Think about that. That will also weed out a whole bunch of choices depending on what you choose. Another consideration that is often overlooked but is super important is think about your budget, because truly there are homeschool curriculum programs out there for every budget, from free all the way up to thousands of dollars and everything in between. So think about that. Think about your budget. Think about secular versus faith-based. Think about online versus books. And then, last but not least, think about what approach to homeschooling you want to take. Now, I don't have time in this video to go through all the approaches to homeschooling, but I suggest you look up what are the different approaches to homeschooling and figure out which one of those most resonates with you, which one most fits your personality and the kind of school that you want to have. And then once you figure that out, you'll be able to find programs that fit that approach to homeschool, that also fit in your budget, that also either are online or book-based, that also are either faith-based or secular. There you have it. You've narrowed it all the way down and waded through those many, many choices out there. So I hope this was helpful today.
Lynn, thanks for joining us this week.
I loved it.
And we thank you guys for joining us too. We want to continue to encourage you in every way that we can. If you have questions or comments, anything you'd like us to talk about, you can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if you would go ahead and follow us and give any ratings that you can on podcasts, YouTube, that would be great. And until next week, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.